Hey guys, and welcome to my complete Marin Kitagawa guide. In today's video, we will be going over the new SSR character VIPER, a character who can fill the role of a DPS support in your teams. I will be covering her skills, explain to you how they actually work, talk about her best character synergies, go over VIPER's most effective role in your teams, and we are also going to talk about how good VIPER is and if I think she is worth pulling for from a meta perspective. With that being said, if you find this video useful, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe as it helps out and keeps my channel going. And lastly, if I have any more things to add in this video, I will be sure to leave it in the pinned comment down below, and without further delay, let's get on with the content. To start things off, I will first go over VIPER's skills and explain to you how each one of them actually works. Her skill 1, Snake Sense, is a passive skill that will increase your whole team's attack by a significant amount, on top of also increasing your team's hit rate. VIPER's skill 1 will activate when the target appears, and I will explain to you what this actually means. When they say target, they are basically talking about the main target in this stage, and you will be able to find out which enemy is the target by checking the battlefield information before you enter the stage. So once that specific enemy appears, VIPER's skill 1 will be activated. Do keep in mind that VIPER's skill 1 will not work for all stages. This ability will only work in stages with the destroy objective, because the other types of stages, namely base defense and defense battle, have infinite waves of enemies, so there is really no target that can trigger VIPER's skill 1. Moving on to her skill 2, Snake Scale. This is a passive skill that will permanently increase VIPER's hit rate by 3.43% at level 10. On top of that, this also has an effect called Vamp which applies to VIPER, and it will exclude her from the enemy's targets for 10 seconds. This means that she will not be directly hit by single target normal attacks from both the enemy raptures as well as other NIKKE if you are in PvP. She will also not be targeted by single target burst abilities like the ones from Snow White and Maxwell. VIPER's skill 2 is really good for stages with Altizen Mark 6 because you can take the attention away from VIPER if you enter full burst before Altizen picks the target or before Altizen's attack gets launched. Because one important thing to keep in mind is that even if VIPER gets the vamp effect, any projectile heading towards VIPER before she got the passive will still hit VIPER regardless. With that said, it's also important to note that the vamp effect can be removed once VIPER is directly hit, which means that the enemy attack should go straight to VIPER. If you have Jackal or any other character with a shared damage effect, any damage shared to VIPER will not remove the vamp effect. One more thing to keep in mind, and this might be obvious, but I figured I should still bring this up, but VIPER's vamp effect will no longer work if she is the only character left in your team. And lastly, VIPER's skill 2 also grants her invincibility for 1 second. At first, this sounds like a gimmick, but this can actually prevent her vamp effect from immediately getting removed, because there are instances where there are 1 or 2 attacks that are about to hit VIPER immediately after entering full burst, so having invincibility for a short duration will let her keep the vamp effect way longer than if she had no invincibility. Now moving on to her burst called Snakebite. This burst is on a 20-second cooldown, dealing 462.85% of her attack as damage to a single target at level 10. And this will also decrease the enemy's defense by 19.83% for 10 seconds at level 10 if the enemy hit is the main target of the stage. The scaling on this ability is not that high, but it's also not that low, and you can get more value out of this in boss stages because you will consistently apply the defense reduction on the boss. When it comes to skill upgrade priorities, I would only recommend upgrading her skills up to level 4 max, just because a lot of her skills are way too specific or very limited, so you will get more out of your resources if you upgrade the skills for the other characters instead of VIPER. Now that we've gone over her skills, we will now move on to her teams and synergies. This section is pretty straightforward because VIPER's buffs leans toward a specific type of composition, and that of course are shotgun teams. She gives her team more attack and hit rate, probably 2 of the best buffs for any shotgun unit, and another reason is that a lot of the other shotgun units also have buffs that will greatly improve VIPER's damage as well. You can go for any variation of shotgun teams, but I can see VIPER performing better as a burst 2 support, which basically means that you will have 2 burst 2 units in your team and she will not be using her burst. If you have characters like Senti, Polly, or Dala, their burst will most likely be better. Senti's burst will hit more enemies if you need to, Polly's burst will give your team more utility, and Dala's burst scales better. So that's why in most cases, you would optimally have VIPER as your second burst unit. If you were to only use 1 burst 2 unit, VIPER is hard to recommend because she has a lot of downsides outside of boss stages. For one, you can only get a lot of value from her burst in boss stages because that's the only time you can consistently proc the extra defense shred from her burst. Another downside is that her skill 1 only activates once per battle, and considering that she has little to no utility on her other skills, not being able to reapply the attack buff and hit rate buff from her skill 1 puts her way below the other units that we have now. So overall, I think that VIPER is a very niche DPS support for shotgun teams that is not even close to being as good as the other burst 2 units that we have now. If you ask me, she does not perform well because she is trying to fill two different roles at the same time. She is classified as an attacker, but is also a burst 2 unit, which is often reserved for dedicated support characters. Viper's kit does come with buffs, but her skill 1, which would have been her best skill, only activates once per battle. And the rest of her skills either only apply to herself or have very poor scaling and a subpar debuff in the form of defense shred. I haven't tested her out that much in PvP because we can only do a few matches per day, but I also don't see her being a better option for PvP simply because of how much utility the other burst 2 units provide. So if you are still wondering if you should pull for Viper, it pains me to say that this beautiful character is an easy skip. If you want a burst 2 shotgun unit, I recommend to just wait until you get Poly, or if you want to, you can instead go for Guilty in the Liberation system. But if you're looking for a NIKKE that will spam your blah blah with spicy pictures, then Viper is definitely the best in slot. So yeah, that's about everything I have for this video. I'm honestly quite sad to see Viper being a usable character at best, just because I was really digging her character design, and the fact that she has the same English VI as Marin Kitagawa, that makes me even more sad. But if you really like Viper and want to use her in your teams, you can optimally do so by using the tips I covered in this video. With that being said, if you have any more questions, comments, or concerns, do feel free to leave it down in the comments below. I would love to hear what you think of Viper or this video in general. And if you found this video useful, I would really appreciate it if you could drop a like and subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and as always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.